Welcome to the Grab a Hole podcast. I'm your host, Justin S. I am back in the pool house alongside a full panel this week. We have David from home, we have Damien on the patio, and we are back at it after a couple weeks of vacation, I guess you can call it, contractual vacation for some. Some allegations were made about budget cuts, which was fake news, not true. But we are back tonight to review Backlash, the fallout from that, and where things are headed. So, fellas, how have you been? How are things going? Are you ready to get back into the podcast swing of things?
Feels like I've been gone for too long. I wonder if this is what Roman Reigns feels like and David feels like every time they come back for a show. So much
I
has
don't know.
changed. So much has changed.
It's
I'm
true.
all
It's
gas.
true. You're all what?
I'm all gas, no brakes.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Well, some things have changed. We got some better video quality. I got a new camera. So now you can see some things around me. You can see me better. I had to take a page out of your book after my wife talked shit to me about how good you looked on camera with your ring light. I had to get a new camera and better lighting in this place for me too. So thanks a lot for that.
I always like it when other people's wives say I look good.
That's fair. That's fair. If you are listening to us on Spotify, Amazon Music, or Audible, thank you. If you are watching us on Spotify or YouTube, thank you. Make sure you hit the heart, the bell, the like, the plus sign, whatever it is, to make sure you subscribe and get these as soon as they drop. We try to do them every Tuesday or Wednesday. We upload them as soon as we're done recording. And as soon as they come out, whether you want them that night or in the morning for work, please make sure that you have that covered. So that way you get them as soon as they drop and you're not waiting, hoping that you can check back and see when they came in. We're going to talk about Backlash and everything that it was and wasn't. Uh, we had picks from myself and from Damien. Damien texted in his picks, so I read them on the podcast along with mine. Um, we only had one that was different. I'm pretty sure it was pretty standard for almost everybody with the show. Um, when you guys look at them going back to the 5 match format, do you guys expect the show to run 2.5, 3 hours still with ad filler, or do you kind of expect the matches to be, in the 15 to 20 minute range apiece?
I expect like 20, 25-minute matches when it's only five. And so um, I don't like five card matches or five match cards. I wish they had six. Maybe I think six would be a better number. But um, yeah, I mean, 20, 25 minutes a match, I guess they want to give them time to go.
David, for you, you were one that brought up in our group message right away that the 5 match card was coming back, and that it's always one of those things where you either have to have 5 great matches or you have to have good storytelling that's not just ad filler in between. You obviously didn't have any positive to say in the text message thread that we have about the show, but overall, when you went into it without seeing it, were you expecting another run of the mill 5 match pay per view or PLE that they run normally?
Yeah, I mean, I was just nothing about that card really like piqued my interest too much, and I think the results spoke for themselves. There wasn't a single title change or anything like that. It was a PLE for the sake of PLE. It was almost glorified house show to an extent. And I think that's the problem with how many of these they're doing is they're too small because they're doing so many of them, and they don't too often. I don't feel like they push storylines at all. Like there's so many storylines that could have been incorporated into Backlash that weren't, and so it's just like I can get why some people were like, "Why am I going to invest my weekend time into this when the overarching story doesn't carry through or anything like that?" It didn't really build to anything else. Every match had a finality to it. It felt like yeah, I know there's still a little bit of the Penta Judgment Day aspect, and there's a little bit of they tried a little bit with Becky and Lyra still, but Gunther and Pat, it's over. John and Randy, over. The Fatal Four Way, like they're moving off of all those guys to
Right.
probably go somewhere else with Jacob Fatu. So it just I told you in the group message, I watched Backlash in 30 minutes and got everything I needed to know out of it without wasting 3.5 hours of my night.
Right. I think a big problem too is that when you look at the main event, you expect that to be 25 minutes minimum. And this one was no different. I mean, they went 27, almost 28. But when you look at some of the other matches, 18 minutes, 19 minutes. If you're going to have a 5 match card and 3 of those matches are 18 minutes or more, those matches better be worthy of that length of time. And everybody kind of expects the main event to be that because it's the main event, it's the championship match, or the names that are involved in it are the guys that you feel like deserve that kind of time. But that was not the case here. I mean, some of these matches, and including Pat and Gunther, went way too long. You could have tightened them up a lot and got done what you needed to get done, and cutting 5 minutes here or 6 minutes there, and making sure that you got your story told, you got your point across, and it wasn't a problem. I think that they're going to continue to do this because of the fact that they cram in. We got Saturday night's main event in 2 weeks, and then after that, Money in the Bank's right around the corner, and then now at the end of June, 3 weeks later, you got Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia. Now there's back on this cycle, the summer cycle, I guess if you want to call it that, where it's every 3 weeks they're hitting something internationally now and stateside. So I don't think that they're going to move off of the 5 match card just for the fact that because of that, if you start doing 7, 8 card, matches a card, now you feel like, oh, well, they're burning them out, so we'll keep it at 5 and people get their time. But I feel like that's a mistake if the quality or the storytelling is not there. And that was a big issue for me on this show. The U.S. title match opened the show, 4-way, and 17 minutes, 55 seconds. Jacob Fatu retains because Solo shows up with a debuting Jeff Cobb. What did you guys think of the match? And A, do you know who the hell Jeff Cobb is? And B, did it seem like he mattered when you watched it?
I know who Jeff Cobb is now. I had heard the name. I had heard of Jeff Cobb. I never really watched him. I didn't know. I don't know his work. I don't know his what he's good at. But the one thing I did do a little bit of research, and it feels like they're bringing him in to be like a Fatu heater. It doesn't seem like, based on the history that they've had in the past, that they've been on the same page. So I like where they're going with that story as far as this is a way to break Solo off from Fatu. It looks like, I mean, just based on the reactions that Fatu's getting, he can just be people want to cheer for him as a face. He doesn't have to change his character at all. Just go out there, continue being a badass, and he's going to get cheered. So I'm looking forward to what's going on there. There's so many Samoans, man. They can just keep bringing them in and recycling them in that they could just keep the story going forever. I mean, that's not even the guy that we thought was going to debut.
Right.
The guys that they've signed to the Performance Center.
Right. Jeff Cobb before Hikaleo.
Yeah.
Interesting. David, did you know who Jeff Cobb was? And B, did you feel like in that match that 18 minutes was warranted and that they got done, shining everybody involved and that 18 minutes made sense?
No, I don't know who Cobb is, and it didn't pique my interest to learn about him after that day. Sorry, there was nothing like, okay, it was another big guy, big Samoan guy. There's of them in the WWE right now.
Right.
So, no, that didn't really pique my interest. But a match like that, I don't mind an 18-minute match if the pacing is good. You can get a lot done in 18 minutes with proper pacing, things like that to keep your interest. I know we'll talk about it later, but the 27, 28 minutes, but it was glacial.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's that doesn't need to be 20. It's they were going longer for the sake of going longer, not because it warranted the story or anything like that.
Right.
And it's just the work pace is different. So I don't care about the time of matches as much as what you do within that time.
Right.
Because a 15-minute match that's high paced or has a lot going on can feel like a 25, 30-minute match.
Right.
So the time doesn't matter as much as what you get accomplished within that time.
Fair enough. Jeff Cobb, for those who don't know, it was predominantly from New Japan Pro Wrestling and Ring of Honor before this. He just recently they announced that there was a cluster of guys leaving New Japan. He was one of them. WWE was expected to be his landing place. Rumor is that he signed a couple months ago. That like it was almost immediately after New Japan announced he was gone. That shortly thereafter he had signed, and they were just waiting to pull the trigger on him. Um, Aesthetically, when you saw him, what was the first thing that stood out to you, Damien, when you saw Jeff Cobb in the moment?
I guess Bronson Reed's not coming back for a while. That's what I was thinking. I was, oh, look, it's Bronson Reed. Oh, no, it's Jeff Cobb.
Oh, the long hair, it's somebody else.
Yeah.
David, one of the things that stood out to me, did it stand out to you that standing next to Solo, he's shorter than Solo? And that, like, if you're looking at it from the eye test perspective, Solo hasn't always been looking like the biggest guy. Like, he was a killer for Roman because of what he did and the way he carried himself. But post Roman, where he steps out on his own, he was always a smaller guy in stature. And so you hope that the guys around him were what was going to build him up. But even standing next to Jeff Cobb here, it made me go, damn, Jeff's even shorter than Solo? What? I mean, I get he's built like a tank, but still, like, that's still short, even in that moment.
Yeah, he's built like a Washington. But it, the thing for me that I just don't get is why would guys join Solo right now? Like, what is he selling that he's getting these guys like to continue to get this kind of pull or have this pull to get guys to join his faction or whatever, in
Right.
spite of all the constant failures and stuff. And I wonder if WWE is just trying to keep like do something to keep him afloat. Like they see something that maybe we don't, or at least I don't right now. But again, he was just another big guy, like big squatty guy who's probably pretty strong and all that. Like he didn't say anything, he didn't do anything special or anything. Like when Fatu first showed up, like he just went full ham from day one,
Right.
And so like he made you pay attention from the very first moment he showed up. Cobb just kind of bullied through and just kind of clunky and slow for me. But
I think for him, he is. I've seen him. I've watched him live when he was wrestling for New Japan. He's very athletic. He's not like moonsault athletic like Fatu, but I think you guys will at least for sure be impressed with some of the things he can do. I don't know overall if you'll be impressed, but some of the things he's able to do will be impressive if they let him do it. Um, One of the things to me that I would say to your point, David, about like what maybe they see something. I think at this point they've invested so much into him that they got to keep him going somehow. That they're not just going to let him fall to the wayside and move on, because he was a part of the biggest story they've had for 4.5, 5 years, and then you try to make him the guy that was basically you know, supposed to be deemed as the guy that would take over Roman's place. Not from star power, but just his place, so to speak, on the card and on TV. And it fell flat and then got worse as soon as Jacob showed up. So I think that they kind of look at it as like, we got to keep him going. He was a part of that. We have invested in him and we keep telling people he's this and he's that. But I mean, honestly, the less talking he does and the more work he does as far as like just beating people up would be a bigger thing to be more invested in my opinion, but that's just me.
Yeah, I don't this version of Solo is not gonna be the guy that goes on to win
Yeah.
the titles. I think he's gonna have to change his character. I think he's very charismatic. I think if you just let him be funny, I think it'll work. But I think they're trying to, and they've tried to have him be this like enforcer type, and it worked at first, and then it almost I think it's because of his build and the way that he's just not like he's not huge like Jeff Cobb, but then he's not ripped either.
Right.
So he's kind of his body doesn't really put him out there as intimidating or whatever. But I think once he gets into a comedic role, I think he'll find a better place or just kind of a different character maybe as a face. But so I like him. I like as to David's point about why did they bring him in? Why do they keep joining Solo? Their family, right? Solo's the son of Rikishi. He's a son. He's a brother of the Usos. So if they come calling, you're going to come answer. So it's not the end of the line here, right? There's going to be more members joining here probably pretty soon, to the point where we're going to have our own Bloodline pay-per-view one of these days.
That would be rough. The next match on the card, Lyra versus Becky for the Women's Intercontinental Championship match. They went 18 minutes, 45 seconds. I felt like this match was long too, but I feel like they had the crowd by the end of it. That it didn't start out super well as far as crowd's attention, but they went on to get the crowd into it by the end. I just felt that they did a little too much early on, that they could have tightened it up and it could have been a little bit better. But to me, was it just me or to you guys? Did the finishing sequence come off as a little sloppy, maybe clunky after Lyra got hit in the nose? Because it seemed almost like she was worried that like she broke her nose or busted her nose, and so it just looked really awkward as they got to the finish. And it was surprising after the false finishes that they had to have that be the finish. And it was like, oh, okay. And then right away, Becky jumps on her. So Damien's pick in this was that Becky was gonna wind up going disqualification here, but he was, part of the deal, and I said that out of speculation as we hadn't talked about it, that it was going to be based on the fact that maybe she would go off and go unhinged, and Lyra would try to, get some sort of one-upsmanship, and it would cost her. So Becky wins, but it was DQ. But it went the other way, where Becky was the one that just kind of snapped on her and just kept going. It's odd to me that they continue to have Becky talk shit about Bayley, but she's in the program with Lyra. Like that's a little odd to me, that the focus should be on the title and who you're going after, not whether or not Bayley's involved in it right now or not. So, I mean, I get that that's seemingly where they're headed or what they're building to, but at the same time, there's got to be some part of that where you're focused on who's in front of you and what's going on and how to lift them, right? Because that's the idea. Becky's supposed to be giving Lyra the rub here. Like I said, at first I was kind of on the length of it, but by the end of it, they had the crowd, so I'm not overly upset about that. But I felt that the finish just came off a little sloppy. What did you think, Damien?
Yeah, I thought the match was fine. I thought the ending was good. They were going to have Lyra. I mean, she went over clean, right? But she didn't get over on Becky in the moment. So I thought they booked it fine. It was fine. I'm just not into this Becky character. Unhinged Becky is just like whatever. Why are you mad, bro? Like you just, I think we talked about this. Like she just got back from vacation, raising her, kid. Her husband's at the top of the card. She's always at the
She
top
has
of the
movies
card.
coming out.
Got
Yeah.
movies, a book. Like what the fuck are you so mad about? Just chill. Like it is. I haven't made that connection even after her promo on Monday night. She fucking called herself Eminem basically. So I don't know. I don't know why she's so mad. Like just relax. I don't like this character. I don't like where it's going.
Hmm. David, where were you at with this match?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in kind of the same boat. It wasn't bad. It wasn't like great, but I don't think it was the worst match of the night. Sure, the finish was a little clunky, but give Lyra credit for still finishing in spite of, possibly breaking her nose because it did not look right after. I don't know if you saw, like, it looked a little off.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Becky, like, she basically pulled a John Cena and just called out the fans in her promo on Monday, and it's just like, why are we just repeating this on the women's side? Like, it's the same story. And like, I get that they're probably building towards a Bayley and Becky storyline at some point, but you're doing Lyra a disservice. It's like, why, like you said, why give her the rub, but then brush her off to focus on the next one already?
Right.
You're supposed to be building her up because supposedly WWE sees a lot in Lyra in the future, and then like make it meaningful. Don't make it this one off. Like the worst thing they can do is move off this feud already. So I hope that they work this at least through Money in the Bank, maybe,
Hmm.
or
Well, that
they
would that would
You
work
know,
it through Saturday night's main event, and then because I believe Money in the Bank is June 6th,
June
right,
7th. Yeah,
Damien? Because
yeah,
it
June
coincides with
7th, June 7th, because then on Monday night they just announced that Gunther. It's like two
yeah,
days later. The
yeah,
Gunther Jey Uso rematch is 2 days after Money in the Bank. I
yeah.
wonder what's going
We'll
to
we'll
happen.
talk about that here in a minute as well.
But hey, let's talk about the really important things like Lyra's boyfriend. Like, what the fuck is she doing dating that little dweeb?
Well,
Like,
did anybody,
who the
like,
fuck is
in
that?
all sincerity, did anybody know who the fuck he was? Has anybody, like, unless you're a big time Lyra fan where you go, I've seen what he looks like, I know who he is, and it's this guy. as somebody who's, we talk about our different levels of fandom between the three of us. I assumed that's who he was based on how they shot things going in from him being in the front row and during that match. But outside of that, it was like, why should I care about him? Why should I care about this him being involved in any of this? To me, it didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, it doesn't work. I don't. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work the other way. You can call me a machista if you want, you know, but really, the guy's afraid of Becky. Like, get out of here.
Yeah,
He weighs
yeah.
120 pounds. Like, he can toss her over the ring.
He weighed. That's why.
They were about the same on the scale.
Yeah, I mean, Lyra, man, step up, Lyra, step up.
The third match on the card was what I said should have been the match of the night, but it turned out to have the least time on the card at 9 minutes and 20 seconds and was only about them furthering the story with El Grande. And to me, this should have been the match that stole the show. It was the one that's had the most history here as far as, and I don't mean the Orton Cena type history, but I mean in the build to the whole thing, right? Like they've had this Judgment Day Penta thing going for a little while now. Penta was involved with two out of, the four guys that are in Judgment Day at WrestleMania. This was continuing that. And instead of it being just a good match that had a fuck finish at the end, it wound up being a short match where they didn't get to showcase what they could do together. And then it's just an El Grande run in, and then they lead to Monday, where it was supposed to be El Grande versus Penta, to where they played it off and said, oh, well, he's on a tour in Mexico. And it's actually Chad Gable that's going to wrestle for him. So, I mean, I get what they're doing with Gable, but it's like that should have been the match that you featured on the show, especially knowing what you were getting out of the next two matches and how those two were going to drag and the quality that you were going to get out of those. I mean, that to me, it was obvious. Was it as obvious to you, Damien?
Yeah, I thought they were going to get a chance to work. I mean, if anybody should have gone 15, 20 minutes, it should have been those two guys. But it's just not Penta's time yet. It's coming. It's
What
coming.
did,
It's
what
in the
did Dom say that he says? Bien pendejo.
I can't hate on Dom, man. He's killing it right now.
David, what did you
Viva la,
think of this?
viva la raza, all of us.
David, what did you think of this one being the shortest match on the card?
Yeah, I mean, it just felt like a waste. Kind of like this whole PLE to me, honestly, in a lot of ways. But it was just a waste of a lot of good talent and an opportunity to really showcase like some high quality wrestling, especially with who else was on this card. Like the other matches on this card, this very easily should have been a match of the night, and it should have been one that was highlighted to show like the quality of wrestling. Especially with following with Pat McAfee wrestling, and then all that stuff. So it was disappointing to say the least. Um, yeah, that's all I got.
The fourth match was Gunther versus Pat McAfee. Um, I've seen the matches previous to this where Pat has actually wrestled, like him and Adam Cole, him in War Games. He could do some stuff when they give him, the right dance partner and the right circumstances. But that's not what this was meant to be. I said on the prediction show that this should have been Pat getting a couple spots in, but this should have been Gunther domination where he kind of plays with his food, so to speak. And then ultimately he winds up crushing him with chops, and then whether it's the power bomb or a choke out, that should have went the way that it went. To me, this one went probably about a good 5 to 6 minutes too long. This one should have been the shortest match on the card. If you weren't going to let Pat have a couple moments, and the way that they had Gunther do this and then Michael Cole get involved, you could have done this with way less time. It worked at a slow pace. It didn't come off as, he was toying with it. It came off as a waste of time, in my opinion. And I thought that this had potential to be another good showing for Pat as being the guy that could bump for Gunther. He eats the chops because he's got to take them. And Pat didn't, I mean, not that Pat's in terrible shape, but it didn't look like he, purposefully, I assume, that he's supposed to be a commentator now. So he didn't have the tan or the shave or, all that stuff. So it was like, okay, I get it, but you're not doing Gunther any favors by having this match be, too long and having him drag ass. Again, especially knowing what followed this. This did not do the show overall any favors. 14 minutes was too long, and it felt like longer than that. Did it feel like that to you, David?
Yeah, I mean, my concern is just what are they doing with Gunther at this point? It's like they're gonna fumble fuck this really bad if they don't find him a clear direction. You know, honestly, I think in a lot of ways it made Gunther look weaker, even though he won and all that. Like, yeah, he was never in like any real danger, but by dragging it out and just the way it played out, it made him look weaker and not the unstoppable force that he's been for the better part of 3 years. And so I'm worried that WWE doesn't know where to go with him or how to develop his character because like even after the match, gives a little bit of like a respect to Pat McAfee, but then he goes back to being his usual self with Jey Uso, and it's like there's no there's character development possibly, and then regression, and then development regression, and it's like they keep bringing him back to this beginning point because they don't. I don't think they know what they want to do with it.
Damien, are you in the same boat that you felt that this was, a bad showing for Gunther with the opponent and the circumstances?
I thought it was fine. I didn't think anything of it. Pat McAfee obviously wanted to have a match, and so they gave him a match. What are you going to do? The guy brings eyeballs and ears to the show, so I didn't know what they were trying to accomplish. It felt like maybe they were trying to set us up for something else, but as of right now, it was just like a one-off match, just McAfee defending Michael Cole's honor.
Right.
I thought it was good. I love the Bobby Heenan, Rick Rude callback with the suplex where he grabbed his foot and almost got the pin there. That would have been great.
Right.
But it was fine. I mean, you were gonna have them have a good match, and him giving him respect was just was obvious. I knew that was gonna happen. He does that a lot. Gunther, he seems to do that a lot in certain matches where he gives a guy his respect. So I wonder if that's like a part of his character where he's gonna be an asshole. He's gonna hate cheese and act like he's way better than you. But then if you go in there and you give him a match, he'll give you a little nod and then move on, and then he'll go back to being himself again. Like I don't have a problem.
For you guys knowing that now, coming off of Monday, that now he's going to get another title shot, did it make sense, unless they are furthering this with, Pat costing him the world title match and then this being the vehicle, so to speak, to get to Goldberg and him, did it seem to make sense to you guys as to why to do this Pat match and then just make him the number one contender? Because if the argument is hey, I want my rematch, why did that not happen at Backlash? Why did he have to deal with Pat? Why would he? It'd be stupid to assume, like, unless Pat cost him the match in the rematch, why would you care about what they say? Why would it be that big a deal? And to your point, David, we've talked about this off air. Seth and Braun's group, including that match from a week ago, you understood why they were trying to, goat Jay into the match. You understood what they were trying to do. And then that match gets, blown up because of Sammy and Punk and all that. So if anybody's got a gripe right now, isn't it Seth and not Gunther, who just beat the shit out of Pat McAfee? Because that doesn't make you the number one contender.
No,
Go ahead, David,
no.
and I see you.
You're missing the point here. Gunther was probably in line for a rematch, but he cost himself by getting himself suspended. The only reason he was back on Saturday was because McAfee asked for the match. So now that he won, he went out and won the match. Now he's back in line for his rematch. Even though there's no rematch clauses, a big win on a PLE obviously puts you in line for a championship. So I don't have a problem with the way that they got there and with how they're getting to the world title rematch, because obviously it's on a Monday night. So
Right.
I don't think this is going to be a story about Gunther, regaining his championship glory. So
But
we'll
does
see.
it, I mean, even in wrestling logic, isn't that flawed? Because if he goes after Pat and Michael Cole in that instance and gets suspended, why would you still reward him once the suspension's over? Isn't that part of being in trouble? That you lost your spot in line and you're being suspended as part of your punishment? Why would it just go back to, well, I guess I guess you're back to the front of the line because you were the last guy that had the title before him? Like, to
No,
me, that's even in wrestling logic, you fucked with the commentators, you hurt one of them, So now you're in trouble. But now that you served your suspension, you get to jump everybody else, including the one guy that people give a shit about right now, even though he's not doing his job very well, which we'll talk about after the fact. Like, to me, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense in that way. Like, even that in that thought process, like that, yeah, he fucked himself by going after the commentators, but even in that, like, you fucked yourself by going after the commentators, so that doesn't mean you get to go back to being a challenger.
It absolutely does. Look at the way wrestling works. You want to talk about wrestling logic? Wrestling logic is I'm going to jump this guy in the back, create an issue, and then I'm going to get a match that happens to get me a title match. Like there's no like true number one contender a lot of the times. You see this happen all the time where guys get title matches just by basically coming out and punking or like why is Logan Paul getting a title? What did he do to earn a title match? Beat AJ Styles? Who gives a shit?
Agreed.
So, like the whole thing that why does Gunther, at least Gunther was the most recent champion. And yeah, he got suspended, but look at all the shit that happens in WWE. Like we're supposed to sit here and believe that, Triple H or whoever's producing on each show, the GM doesn't watch every single match and see that there's interference here and this happened here, but we're
Right.
going to choose what to look at. So yeah, let him have the title shot if it furthers the story. I mean, it's basically chaos everywhere you look. Like
Some Kevin Owens is smiling at this. When he sees this, Kevin Owens is going to be smiling and retweeting you, David, for saying and say thank you for all the wrestling logic that you just brought to everybody's attention. He's the only one that watches the show back there, apparently.
Yeah. Uh,
why even have a GM? These guys make their own matches all the time anyway. It's like the GM position is the most useless tool in.
Listen, I'm going to tell you this. You can ask Damien this. Damien will vouch on what I'm about to say. Before you were watching this, like previously, the GM situation was way fucking worse. Way worse. So what you're seeing now is actually better overall with what they've tried to do with Pierce and Aldis specifically, comparatively to what they've had in the past or during the time that you weren't watching. Because if you thought that this was bad, you would be utterly disgusted at what you saw before this.
Dave was not around for the Mike Adamle era.
Yeah.
That's for damn sure.
Yeah, Jesus. Or the guest GM. Jesus.
Or the anonymous, or the guest
Yeah,
GM.
yeah, the anonymous where he turned out to be the laptop. Yeah. Yeah. At
Hey,
one point there was a laptop that had a robotic voice that was the GM.
real quick, speaking of Mike Adamle, props for the Miz to get that host job for the reboot of American Gladiators. Gotta love it.
Hey, the Miz knows what he's doing. He's everywhere. The main event of the PLE was Cena and Orton one last time. They go 27 minutes, 50 seconds. What I wrote down was this was overkill to the max. Overthought, overproduced, just overdone. I would have been fine with 28 minutes for the main event if they didn't walk through the whole fucking match and it felt like 45. And then on top of that, like you get truth involved, which again, fine, but you have how many ref bumps? You have so much time in between. You have all these other things, and then you do the presser afterwards, where Cena winds up putting him through the presser table. It was a lot. It was the whole match seemed to be more of a thing that we're going to see in the future. I brought this up in the past, throwing away main event matches to say, oh, we're doing this whole thing where he's ruining wrestling and it's going to upset people. Just because you're walking through things and trying to smoke and mirror your way through Cena's shortcomings does not mean that it's good. Just because it's not a good execution. Shitty matches and then you go, oh, we're ruining wrestling. That's not how that should be executed. You should be able to tell what he's doing in the sense to be like, I'm taking this away. I don't do this anymore. That he doesn't even run the ropes. Look at the matches. He's not running the ropes. There is no gear shift into anything he does. And I don't think we're going to see it. That's the thing is even after this heel situation is done and it's no longer about quote unquote ruining professional wrestling, I don't think you're going to see that quality again. And this is not how I want to see Cena go out. If every match that you wanted to see at the end of his career, whether it's Randy, whether it's AJ, whether it's Punk, if it was, Edge at some point, whoever you would want to see him face, if this is the level of quality you're going to get no matter who he's facing, this is a waste of a retirement tour. Damien, to your point, you said Nobody wanted to see him turn bad guy now, and they're using this as a crutch, and it is terrible to watch, and it is painful to deal with when you see all the things that are coming. I don't care how deep of a fan you are. If you tell me that this is cinema and this is good shit, you either don't actually believe that or you need to rewatch some shit that's actual quality. Because at this point, we've now seen between the Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, all the way to WrestleMania, and now Backlash. Multi-man matches like the Royal Rumble, he didn't have to do anything, so nobody paid attention to that. The Elimination Chamber, same thing, multi-man match. He was in a sequence with Seth Rollins and CM Punk in the finish where they were in there all the way to the end to where Seth got involved with Punk and stomps him. Now, then when you finally got to WrestleMania in the one-on-one match, now you see Cena's got nobody but himself, and we don't get anything good. Then you see last weekend and what they did with that. Again, a guy like Randy doesn't need to go 100 miles an hour, but he knows how to pace a match to where it fits his style, and Cena should be able to find his window in there somewhere, even if it's for a short amount of time. To blame it on him ruining wrestling, to blame it on the character and the storytelling is literally like a total cop out at this point. After seeing what we see, Cena has now officially, and he said it not long ago that when he was going to walk away, that it was when he lost a step. He admitted that he's in that time now. That's why he's retiring. But they are doing nothing to help him. And this whole heel turn has done no favors for him and how he's going out. People don't want to boo him. He should be getting his flowers, and the main event is suffering for what they're doing. I mean, am I wrong? Do either one of you have anything different from that?
This is a case of be careful what you wish for, people. Everybody thought it was so cool when he turned.
Mm-hmm.
And I distinctly remember David also was on my side. I'm in wait and see mode. Like, I don't know if I buy this. I don't. They fucked it up. I'm sorry. They fucked it up. The Cena heel turn is not working for me. It would have been better for him to be fighting from underneath, from being an underdog, coming up like he always has. Eventually, maybe SummerSlam or maybe Survivor Series, where you think there's no shot at number 17, and he finally gets it, right? Like, that would have been the way to just build this John Cena farewell tour. It's nostalgia. Like, that's all it should have been. Like, this is pointless. This is meaningless. Like, nothing that John Cena is doing means anything. So they fucked it up. Now they got to keep going with it. Hopefully they figure it out. But I'm fucking telling you, if he's wrestling R-Truth at Saturday night's main event, fucking count me out. I won't watch the show. Otherwise, then what the fuck is he back for? Like, what is he doing? Like, this is pointless to me.
David, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing has just been. I think it's a failure from the start. Like, especially the second that The Rock stopped being involved with it, because there was intrigue there to potentially faction it a little bit of the corporate champion and stuff like that. And we've gotten none of that. Like, we sat here and speculated, oh, who could join Cena and The Rock and all that and build this like corporate thing. We talked about it could be Seth. It could be, any of these guys. And instead we've just gone off into this like one man heel Cena thing that is just, it's not working. He's like, I don't even think he's having fun with it. Like, part of it was, I thought, maybe he would at least enjoy it or look like he's relishing the heel role. Like, I don't get that vibe from him. Like, when you see Seth go heel, or you see, Punk or Roman in all of their history go heel or whatever, like, they look like they like enjoy it, for lack of a better word. Like they're invested. He looks like he's just walking through the motions, and like he just looks like a bitter old man and sounds like a bitter old man half the time. And like, I don't even think he believes what he's saying half the time, or probably all the time.
Well, the cameras
It's hard
caught
to
him.
watch.
The cameras caught him after getting out of the ring because it goes to the post show, so it continues on Peacock and how it goes. And there's a moment where the crowd, to what Damien's been saying all along, as far as the crowd not wanting to see him in this spot, the crowd was chanting "thank you," and he has this moment where you can visibly see him tear up, where he's like finally having this moment and realization that that's the last time he's doing this with Randy, and it's the last time that they get to do this. And there's, whether the match was good or not, like that's the last time you get to do that for real. Like, yeah, there should be emotion involved in it. There should be, you know, that feeling of overwhelmed of like, man, that was really it for that. There's going to be guys that you go, nah, I don't get that feeling. But Randy and him, the timeline is almost identical as far as coming in, the group that they came in with, as far as the OVW class, and everything that they did in between. You literally go, those are the guys you started with that. That was the first person you went to and wrecked this. Like you couldn't do this match towards the end, or maybe be the last one.
That match could have also been a face versus face match where, you know, they showed respect at the end, like after 25 years of back and forth and all that. Like that's what I think that would have gotten just as much or probably way more play and popularity, you know, than the way they did this. Like the way they did this, they've screwed the pooch the whole way through. So I'm over this whole John Cena retirement tour until something changes.
Damien, for you at this point, knowing what we've seen now in back to back PLEs, including what's supposed to be the biggest one of the year, do you expect bad matches for all the opponents that you want to see him wrestle going forward?
Yes, because John Cena can't wrestle. We've known this forever.
Yeah.
Aside from like one U.S. championship run, he can't wrestle. No, I've always thought he could wrestle better than most people. But yeah, I don't know what to expect anymore at this point. You know, slow, just matches with a lot of different twists and turns, referee bumps and false finishes, and who knows what else. I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. The problem is I don't believe John Cena when he's speaking right now, and that's the problem. Like I just don't believe him. Right? Like when Seth Rollins is out there or Drew McIntyre is out there as a heel speaking, you believe that they believe what they're saying. You don't believe that John Cena believes what he's saying, and that's the problem. It feels forced, and it comes off as super forced. Like he's just not a natural heel. Sorry, but he just isn't.
David, for Seth and Braun not being on this PLE and now getting a tag match against Sammy and Punk at Saturday night's main event, do you feel like WWE has compounded mistakes or compounded missteps, so to speak, by not putting the characters, the faction, the story that most people care about on the show in that way? Or is this just, well, we're back in that summer cycle where it's every 3 weeks, so they got to spread out the important people, and this is part of that deal?
Yeah, I think they missed an opportunity here because that was probably the hottest story coming out of WrestleMania outside of just Cena win 17 or whatever. But, like that was the biggest thing from all of WrestleMania weekend for a lot of people. And I have a feeling that it was probably somewhat their hands were tied thinking about it. Like you knew Roman was going to go away for a bit. Uh, Punk probably needed a break after his run through WrestleMania and stuff. So, like, I get it from a logistical standpoint, but it's just unfortunate because, you know, you have this potentially great storyline building, and you had to pause it for essentially. Like, I know they did some stuff on Raw leading into Backlash, but like, those again, especially when you're only doing the 5 matches, you really need to highlight like your biggest storylines in those 5 matches. Like, the whole point of a 5 match PLE is like, hey, these are the big points that we're building towards, or whatever big stories we're building with. So yes, Cena should be on it for sure. I think Jey Uso should have been on it and not on Saturday night's main event. You know, you should have your 2 top champions be on it, or the women's champion. One of them
Right.
should have been in some capacity. Instead, you've bypassed all of that, and you know you blew some of that momentum a little bit. And I, not to say they can't recover moving
Right.
forward because of opportunity, but yeah, I would have liked to have seen more of any of these other storylines continue to, you know, build.
I'm okay with Punk and Braun not being on this PLE. it's got to be a slow build, I think, because I think they're going to try to get to Roman Punk at the next WrestleMania, so they can't just get into it right away.
Yeah.
That said, I do think that if, let's say they would have done Jay versus Rollins, I said Punk earlier, Jay versus Rollins
Right. Right.
at Backlash, and they had the finish that they just had on Monday Night Raw,
Hmm.
people would be pissed off.
Yeah. No, for
You
sure.
know what I mean? So that's probably why they didn't put it on that card. But I'm okay with it. It's just, it's going to be a slow build. I mean, obviously, it feels a little weird the build right now with the faces having three and them
Yeah.
outnumbering them two. So obviously somebody new's coming in here soon. They're kind of doing it backwards. Normally it's the heels have the numbers advantage and the faces, team up to even things out. So I'm curious to see with how they're telling this story. Maybe they believe that they're the faces. They believe nothing that Seth Rollins said on Monday night to CM Punk was a lie.
Okay, so let me ask you this then.
So
That's
anyway,
a good way to lead this in. Do you feel like Seth has actually been a heel since WrestleMania? That he's actually behaving like a heel and doing what a heel, quote unquote, should do?
yes, he's acting like a heel, but the things he's saying aren't
Okay.
heelish. They're true. They're honest. The same thing Drew McIntyre's been doing for the last year and a half. So the heels
He's
are
a
honest.
hero, not a heel.
He he's a heel. He's a heel. He's a heel. He used Paul Heyman to turn on both Roman Reigns and CM Punk in one match to win, and then he brought out an enforcer with him to be his muscle. He's a fucking heel. Sorry, he's a heel who says truth. That's all he is.
Okay. Go ahead, David. Why is he not a heel in your eyes?
He's an anti-hero because again, heels generally don't speak truth. And this is the same reason I don't think Drew McIntyre is a heel. I think people just don't like hearing the truth, and so they want to be all butthurt about it. But just because it hurts your feelings doesn't make the person a bad guy.
Hey, the
And yes,
Punisher is an anti-hero. Batman, I guess, is an anti-hero. Seth Rollins is not. He's a heel.
Venom is and he, blurs the line if we're going to get into comics and all that shit. But no, I mean, yes, he's resorting to tactics. He's doing what's necessary for the greater good.
I think
And
that
in his mind, he's right. It's the same with honestly, this is the thing about heels now is most of them are a lot more complex than just, oh, I'm a bad guy, I don't like the good guy thing anymore. A
right,
lot of heels in this Triple H run have had like understandable motivations. Like you can see where Kevin Owens was coming from
right,
when he you can see where Drew McIntyre is coming from in a lot of ways. You can see where Seth's coming from. And yes, the like people don't cheer just because you're a face or a heel anymore. They cheer because of like the personality.
right.
Like no matter what, they're going to cheer for Punk because he's CM Punk and he's, that popular. And like they're gonna cheer for Cena, even if Cena sits there and calls every single one of us stupid, lazy slobs and all that stuff. Like the crowd's still gonna chant for him because they want to cheer for that guy.
Right.
And so I don't think he's a full-on heel. I think he's resorting to using heel tactics, and you see this with some heroes in certain stories and arcs where they resort to having to do what the bad guys do in order to even the playing field, and that's what he's doing.
Well, I think that like when you look at what he did originally with the Monday night with Sammy, right? Like where he offered him leaving to go to SmackDown and giving him a way out, and then he turns him down and he calls Braun and he stands there, right? As he shakes his head and lets Braun do his thing, and you see Sammy struggling, and you see him. To me, that's what this should revolve around. That like he was the mastermind that took the guy who was the right hand man of Roman Reigns, who was the best friend of CM Punk. This guy is a thinker. He's the one playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. You watched everybody else to pay attention to each other and forgot about him. To me, that's what it should be about. That he's the guy that's pulling the strings and you're watching him. He doesn't have to be the guy because he's got the dog that he can sick on you and let him go after you if you turn down his offers or turn down the things that he's trying to be, nice about, so to speak, in that way. And to where things are headed, let me ask you this. Do you, either one of you, think that what we're actually going to get is this I saw the light type moment from Sammy at Saturday night's main event, and you're going to get Punk turned on, and now Sammy's going to join up with this group, and because he sees how powerful they are and felt what they can do, and so now it's like, well, I'm out. I'm going to join them because he's right. This is the future of pro wrestling.
No, I don't see that. No, I don't see Sammy turning.
David,
I see somebody else coming out and helping them win. I don't see Sammy doing it.
okay.
That's some real in-depth analysis there. No.
Yes, I don't see it. Like, why? He just isn't. Like, Sammy's just a really reliable face right now. Like, at any moment, they could just turn it on, and he's doing the Jey Uso, going for the World Heavyweight Championship for the first time. That's a story that they got to tell, so they can't turn him heel.
To your point about that, though, if they turn him heel and then Seth controls the world title by having Sammy go after Jey and he gets his moment, right? It's the one time that he has the championship, which everybody wants to see, but it's Seth who's calling the shots for the champion. He's the guy that controls the title in actuality. Isn't that enough of a deal to go, hey, let's go the other way with this and have Sammy turn heel?
Because it's going to be a face moment with Sammy.
Oh, you think so?
That moment has to be a moment. He's got to, Sammy's got to take the title off of someone, not Jey Uso.
Right.
For that to be the moment that fans want to see. If you put the title on Sammy in a heel scenario or, in this anti-hero scenario, as I'm labeling,
yep.
I don't think you can do that. So, no, I don't think it's Sammy who joins. I mean, I know there's speculation of all these different people who could join and stuff like that, but honestly, I'm here for the ride. I don't think that they're staying in a 3-man stable. I know that there's been reports that they want to be different and just they'll stay like this 3-person group, but I think that's and that someone's coming, especially because, like you guys said, out the faces, quote unquote, are outnumbering them right now, and they're not going to stay like that. Especially with Roman, because now Roman's still going to come back and be a factor in that whole thing. So now that puts it 4-2. So somebody else, and it's got to be a major player, is coming to even that if you're going to be 4-3 or 3-3.
Right. How long? And we'll wrap this up here pretty quickly. How long is Roman staying away? Because now we're looking at a month. Saturday night's main event. By the time you get to the 7th, you're looking at a month and a half for Money in the Bank that he's been gone.
When are they going to Saudi Arabia?
June 20 something. That's when
he'll be on that card.
Night of Champions is what they're going with that one.
Well, maybe unless
they've advertised him for Money in the Bank.
Did they?
I've heard that I thought I saw he was on the poster. For Money.
Ooh, Roman Reigns is Money in the Bank. That'll piss people off.
No, but I think he comes back at probably Saturday to have a spot in that tag. Probably. That's what I'm thinking, honestly. They can build into something with Punk possibly. Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of my train of thought right now. And then, he can still be on the Saudi show.
Well, as we wrap things up here, Monday Night Raw had Julia and Roxy taking on Io and Rhea. Shout out to Roxanne Perez and Julia. They've done well on Raw. They're not trying to be, rocket strapped to their back and sent to the moon, but they're also not being just cast aside now that they're on Raw. They've done a good job of keeping them relevant and getting to work with main event talent. I think we all understand that it's, this is leading back to Rhea and Io at some point based on how they finished that match and the staring at the title moment and all that good shit. But I just wanted to shout out those two, make sure those two get a little bit of recognition. The other thing I wanted to say is, condolences to Sabu's family, ECW legend. Long time. He literally just had his last match at 60 a month ago at GCW against Joey Janela. I know not everybody's a huge ECW fan or a big Sabu fan. I wasn't the biggest fan. I like seeing him against Rob Van or as a tag team with Rob Van Dam in ECW. He was crazy. I still think that the best match I've ever seen him in was One Night Stand against Rey Mysterio for the World Heavyweight title. That match is one that I could watch back, and the intensity level and the style that they both work comes off really well. So thoughts and prayers to his family for that. I mean, a lot of they. I know that they showed a little video deal for him on Monday night, and obviously some fans ECW is where it started for some fans. So hopefully his family and the people around him and the people that were close to him find each other and lean on those around them to help them through this tough time. So RIP to Sabu. Was there anything that we didn't hit that I'm missing from your guys's must hit list, or did we cover everything?
Yeah, I thought it was just I don't know. Like I watched Raw and then it was over before I knew it. I don't know that I missed. Oh, the one thing I will say, the Judgment Day, Carlito, shout out to him. Not ashamed of letting Raquel take him out to dinner to use her credit card. The guy is gold right now. He's really good at just kind of coming up with some one-liners that you almost dismiss, and it's just hilarious. Like I think he's found definitely his footing. I mean, he's been in Judgment Day for a while, but his role, his character, since he came back, I think he's been used pretty perfectly. I think. And yeah, we missed out on a lot of years of Carlito in the WWE. I think he could have been really good for a long time if he was in there. Shout out to the Judgment Day and Carlito, man. And they better speed this fucking story up because it's starting to drag a little bit.
Starting to stale up a little, huh?
It better. I mean, it's honestly better be a SummerSlam break. You know what I mean? A Dom versus Finn IC title match at SummerSlam. Beyond that, like that's ridiculous. Like they're going to lose it.
Right.
So that's all I wanted to say.
All right, David. Do we miss anything from your perspective?
That is the glacial storytelling paces. We're like, you get these potential story teases, and then they just drag so long that people lose interest. My only worry about Finn is that he's kind of falling out of relevancy, taking loss after loss and things like that. Like he doesn't get the pop anymore, and Finn's too good for that. And I'd like to see them do something sooner than later. Shout out to JD McDonough for teaching Dom about time zones, by the way. So that was a nice little spot too.
Fair enough.
But no, that's it. Last little note is I saw that SmackDown is returning back to the 2-hour format, which I mean, based on we watch an hour's worth of commercials during a 3-hour show anyway, so good for them. I don't think SmackDown should be longer than the Netflix episodes, so happy to see that because they haven't used those 3 hours well. They had a lot of opportunities, and we all thought, oh, they can do more storylines and get more airtime for people, and it just really hasn't worked out that way. It's just the pacing has been even slower with the 3-hour run, so I think it's good that they're getting away from that.
Good call. Damien, what do you have to tell the people on the way out?
I got nothing.
He's got nothing. David, are you back next week? Do we get you again next week?
You do. 2 weeks in a row.
Damn, 2 weeks in a row.
No breaks.
Ah, there it is. We'll see.
Like Allen Tank.
We'll see you guys next week on another episode of the Grab a Hole podcast.